You know what they say. Every day has to start with a cold start for the boys. America. Today we have one goal and one goal only, and of course that is to get the first startup on the yellow Evo 8. Now, of course, we are waiting on the intake manifold, and I'm hoping that's going to be done bright and early this morning. Guess we'll see. In the meantime, I want to head to the shop, grab the all-wheel drive Type R, and go on a little rip ski. That car has been sitting for months now. It hasn't been started, hasn't been moved. It's just chilling. It's straight up just chilling. Thousands of hours of work into that thing. It's kind of sad if you think about it. So much hours, a lot of money into the car, and now it just sits there. What a shame. Who wants it? See if old girl's got some oil in her. It's been so long. Hey, there we go. 85 psi of oil pressure. Like we never left. Gotta love the Hondas. Oh boy, I forgot how loud these straight cuts are. Trying to avoid all the big old puddles in the road. Of course, I don't care to get this undercarriage completely filthy, and honestly, I probably shouldn't even be driving it right now, but I miss driving this thing, man. Just under 1,000 total miles on the entire build. 975.7 miles on the Haultech, which means that's how many miles are on the entire car since it went all-wheel drive, since it went K24. Man, oh man. It doesn't need much. I can list off on the top of my head what this car needs to be like 100% complete. Starter button is acting a little bit weird. As you guys know, I was heavily invested in getting the factory starter button to work. It works 90% of the time. The other 10%, you have to like shut the car or turn off the ignition, open, close the door, like do some weird thing to reset the car, it seems like. So I need to get that sorted out. The electric e-brake, a little bit of a weird issue going on there as well. Kind of a similar situation. If the car is running, you can apply the e-brake just fine. But if you try to disengage the e-brake while the car is running, it doesn't want to disengage. So what you have to do is just turn off the car, disengage the parking brake, and then you can fire the car back up and go drive. Not a big deal. It's annoying. I will get that sorted one day. Missing cover there. Shift boot falls down. It needs our PPG billet key case installed and the traction bar built, and probably some window tint, and maybe clean the interior. Not much. And the gas gauge. Every time I drive this thing, I always try to fill up because I have no idea how much gas is even in this car. Yeah, no, this is the one, dude. Nice. I haven't driven it in like probably. This is the all-wheel conversion. Yeah, it is. That's good. Thank you, man. Yeah, follow you guys regularly. So. I appreciate that. Yep. Thank you. What was your name again? David. David. Okay. Yeah, I stopped by and said hi to her one time at the coffee stand. Okay. After work, so. Yeah. Did it all now. I saw you, so I figured. I don't need the 85. I'll break shit. Really? I'm sitting here tripping out because my e-brake won't turn off. I need to disable this stupid seatbelt thing. It's the only Type R. Then again, the other two are 2019s. But for some reason, the 2021 requires you to put your seatbelt on. The other two, the white one and the red one, do not. It would be really sick, in my opinion, to be able to utilize a completely factory instrument cluster. I know I can get the coolant temp to work. I know I can get the gas gauge to work. The only thing in question, in my mind, is the speedo. RPM, that should also be more simple than the speedo. Still difficult, but one of these days, maybe I'll look into that. Hello, Haas. I need to take a cool photo of my cool car. All right, I'm gonna skit and skedaddle.
All right, bye, Haas.
Goodbye, Haas.
Wow.
Well, she wanted to fire up today. This car is extremely stressful to drive. Here's why. The throttle body added the problems. I forgot about this. I have a new throttle body to install, but sometimes it just likes to close. The TPS will go to 0%. Throttle body completely closes, and then of course the car dies. Now with the starter switch issue, sometimes when you're at an intersection, she'll act up. So all in all, I would say that's the biggest cause as to why I don't drive it, because it's just a pretty stressful car to drive. You know what I mean? Both of these things are in dire need of a bath. Bay, inside, outside, everything. Both of my favorites are all cleaned up. Here's the Type R. Still so, honestly, I guess the right word for it would be impressed with how this bay turned out. And then we got Bob's STI over here. This thing looks like it broke a motor mount, which I haven't noticed until now. Take a look. That motor's definitely sitting sideways, so pretty sure the passenger side motor mount is no longer with us. Which one you taking, boys? Comment below. 800 horsepower all-wheel drive Type R, 800 horsepower, obviously all-wheel drive STI. This thing would deliver the gap. Well, look what I just went and picked up. The missing puzzle piece, our Magnus intake manifold. This flange right here, the machine shop said it was definitely a little bit crowned, a little bit warped. Now it's good to go. So I'm glad I got that taken care of, because that would have been a nightmare to deal with later on. Let's see. Wow, imagine that, it doesn't rock back and forth. So let's go ahead, get this guy bolted onto this guy. I'm going to be using, of course, some nice JDC titanium hardware, and we have a new gasket here. OEM will not work because OEM is a 64 millimeter, I think, or maybe a 68, and this one's a 74 millimeter. Now remember, some of these threads on the intake manifold go all the way through, so to verify that they're not going to leak, I am going to put a touch of sealant on the threads. I guess I should say to ensure that they don't leak. Let's hope that this throttle body treats us well. Alrighty, our manifold is 100% complete. Rails back on with the injectors, throttle body's on, map sensor, and then the ports to go to BOV, fuel pressure regulator, and boost gauge, and brake booster. Now, being that I wanted my throttle cable hidden for the most part, throttle cable has to be bolted on first. Now we can slither this thing up in here. All right, we got a lot of temporary things going on right now, but all of the sensors and all the wiring's finished up. Dipstick 2 is back in with the intake manifold. All the sensors are plugged in. So what I want to do from here is go ahead and plug in with your laptop and see if the issue from a few months ago is resolved. that issue is this thing had no cranking RPM whatsoever. Some sort of crank sensor issue is going on, maybe ECU, maybe it's a bad ground, not really sure. So I guess we're gonna see. That's the main thing I'm worried about. That's gonna be the main hiccup today if we don't have a crank signal. I did put a new crank sensor on it, so we shall see. I hate the whole temporary thing. Temporary oil pressure gauge. Fuel pressure regulator was in the way, so that's now hanging, just temporary. A lot of temporary wiring. I was trying to avoid that with this build, but my regulator's a ways out. I ordered a different one. All right, cranking RPM, please give me something. What? Come on, dude. Why? Why? It sounds healthy though. Plugs are back in. She's definitely got some compressions. Okay. So no cranking RPM, huh? I'm just gonna pull up the data log and just confirm that there truly is no RPM. That's a problem.
You should only have one black wire in that connector. It's going to be between a white and a red and black.
Yes, sir.
Then let's verify the grounds going into the ECM with the test light. Take your test light, connect it to battery positive. It gives you something to look forward to, you know? Each problem you run into, you become better and better.
All right, I'm on the phone with Nick right now. He thinks the ECU itself is bad, which would make sense as when I got this car, the ECU was out of the car. If you guys can remember back. So I'm gonna pull this cover off real quick and check it out. So what am I looking for? Just anything burnt looking?
Yeah, do you see anything crazy? Put your nose up to it, just smell it. Do you smell anything slightly funky with it?
Not really. It appears we have a bad ECU. Go figure. That's why I was out of the car when I bought the car. Evo 9 ECU, completely different. It has 3 plugins, and Evo 8 has 4, so I can't take that. Parts, Evo 8 did not have an ECU when I got the car. Let me call my boy. I just need an ECU to test.
Hello, sir.
Your base map sucks.
Yeah?
It's not giving me any RPM signal, Josh.
All I did was injector scaling and left the map sensor.
I'm just kidding. I think I'm pretty sure my ECU's fried.
No way.
Well, remember when I got this car, the ECU was out?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, do you have any Evo 8s there I could just test to plug it in to see?
Don't.
You don't?
No, I have no Evos here, thank God.
You're lying.
No, I don't have any. I mean, Bose is the Evo 9 technically, and it's not here, it's gone.
Son of a... Damn. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my ECU's fried. Well, boys, no first start today. I don't even know when we're going to get a first start now. All signs lead to a bad ECU, and of course, with a bad ECU, you cannot fire up the car. Evo 9 ECU is different. I'm pretty sure a factory Evo 4 ECU may plug in, but I just looked at my Evo 4. It's actually not on a factory ECU, so that's not an option. I've called everyone I know here in town, and nobody has a stock ECU laying around. So I'm gonna have to move on. I just ordered one up. I don't know when it's gonna be here. I guess it'll be here when it does. And maybe in the meantime, someone will have a stock ECU here in Spokane. I can just plug in to verify that truly is the problem. We checked everything else. It's gotta be the ECU. So let's move on with life. Sadly. I really wanted that first start today. Really bad. Well, here is what is on the agenda for the rest of the night. Random odds and ends. Let's start off with, how exciting, our freaking wiper motor. Now, I debated pulling this thing entirely apart somehow, trying to powder coat the arms and powder coat the motor and all that. I'm not gonna do that yet. I'm gonna try to get this thing cleaned up and leave it OEM first. And then if I fail, then we can do some coating. It's not rusty or anything, just a little stained, I guess you'd call it. So I'm gonna start off with the greaser, get it fully saturated in the greaser. Now this here is aluminum brightener. I don't know what it's gonna do on steel or zinc plated metal, but let's give it a shot. A little scrub with some Scotch-Brite might help. I ain't no window motor expert or window arm expert, but if someone came to me and said, Devin, is this nice? I would say, wow, is that new OEM? This one, 9.9 out of 10. It's still a little bit wet, but apparently the aluminum brightener works on more than just aluminum, because this is silver zinc plated steel, or maybe it's like galvanized or something, but it turned out freaking amazing. So here we got the windshield cowl. I'm gonna get all the dirt and grime and grease off with my degreaser. Watch this.
Oh.
Now let's see the whole thing. All right, so we're applying some trim coat from Cerakote real quick. The part has to be perfectly clean and dry. Cannot be wet whatsoever. And this stuff is essentially a cheat code, huh, Bobby? So here's a piece before that is not coated. Okay, extremely crusty. Now here's one that's coated. It still needs to soak in a bit. Is that ample?
Yes.
What is this?
To refuse.
Relay, resistor, some sort of rectifier. Next part, we're restoring and modifying a tinge. I want you to tell me where this goes in place of, one of these two things gets replaced with this. How'd you know?
They look identical.
But this one has all the wiring, goes in the resistor box. So I believe this right here is the fuel pump relay. This guy, if I'm being frank, I don't know what it is. This guy is the injector resistor. And when you do a set of aftermarket injectors, such as a set of FIC 1650 cc's, you need to do a injector resistor bypass. Okay?
Got it. Sounds like you just spoke Spanish to me, but got it.
So this guy, we don't need. That I'll clean up with some aluminum brightener. That is just a piece of plastic. And then the bracket itself mounts on the firewall. It's that nasty, like, green color that Bobby's butt is.
You want to show him a green butt?
Pull it out.
Bend over. How do you take that out? That's gross.
So we are going to be powder coating this piece. Thankfully, it'll fit, of course, in the small oven. So I got that sucker cranked up and ready to rip. This piece is so small, it's not worth the time investment of putting it in the shipper tank. Quicker just to blast. Our little relay resistor plate is all finished up. Looking mighty fine, and it sits right back. Don't mind the regulator just flopping. It's temporary. But it's gonna go right back here on the firewall. Next random task, this boy right here. I'm sick of having to remember to disconnect the battery every time I am not messing with the car. We need to add a fuse in the battery relocation kit. After doing a bit of looking around, I think the best place is actually going to be under the seat. It'll be easy to access. The lower section of the rear seat's super easy to pull out, and it'll be hidden and out of the way. Fuse location is all finished up. Last shenanigan for the night is our AEM oil pressure gauge. I had the Harbor Freight manual went on there for a minute just to confirm that things were working, but this guy showed up. Here's the sender. I'm gonna put this in the back of the block where the factory oil pressure sender goes. And here is the harness. And last but not least, the gauge. And with the gauges all finished up, here is the cockpit view. Boost, AFR, oil pressure. LED lights in the cluster. Now all we freaking need is a good ECU. Presumably a good ECU, and this thing is ready to rip. One of these days, man. I feel like every time I start the day, I'm like, today is the day. And then we run into something like that. Stupid ECU.